Hey yo, what's up? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. Analyst is work you can find over at MMAJunkie.com as well as OddsCheckerUS.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. Hopefully, it's before the fight. Recording this in the wee hours of Thursday night before the weigh-in, so we'll see. Hopefully, there'll be no drama like last week, at least with the fighters that we're betting on. Although the fighter we did bet on, missed weight, air quotes, and still cash, but it's all good. Still riding high off that one, but don't worry. Try not to be insufferable as I can be. We're going to not really do a recap. A couple missed thoughts and a quick shot to Bellator 281, and then it's pretty much just going to be a UFC Vegas 54 breakdown. UFC on ESPN 36, UFC Fight Night. Blachowicz versus Rakic. We'll be breaking that down from top to bottom, of course. Check the timestamps if you're listening in the show notes, Apple Podcasts. Thanks for the 5-star ratings and reviews, the shares. It really does help, folks. Or if you listen to any other podcast platform, or the smartphone-friendly players at mixedmartialanalyst.com, where you can find click-throughs for shitty companies, or a secure PayPal link if you want to support the show that way. Which the click-throughs are free because it just costs you an extra click. You do your shopping at fucking Amazonians.com and Amazon. Sorry, that's probably an actual website. I shouldn't direct you there, and I won't get credit for it if you do go there. But there's a secure PayPal link as well as up in the link tree, which someone used, a Mark G. I won't say the last name, but thank you, sir. Listener of the podcast made a very generous donation. As you can to this free program, we going we going like 7 years. We'll be going on 7 years soon or something like that. I don't know. I lose track at this point. But this is episode 309, so we get there. We get there slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. I really appreciate the support and love. The most important thing, oh yeah, by the way, YouTube, you check the timestamps for it as well. Daniel Tom MMA. Thanks for the subscriptions and love there. I actually put like a video up, you know what I'm saying? Me doing a fucking gross things like a cuppy. If you're not into that, just fast forward through the beginning. And there's some other stuff on there. I finally get a YouTube episode. I got a classic media thing I could cut for some hits, and an actual rant that was pretty worthwhile, even though it missed some points. If I really wanted to pitch the shutout, as I tend to do, in the process, pretty much just driving away my listenership and annoying the piss out of people more than really driving a point home. But nevertheless, that's that. I didn't do that yet. It's just been so busy, man. Again, the most important things, more than these stupid breakdowns and fights and gamblings and MMA, is family, friends, life, And thanks for the wishes for my best friend, literally my best friend, Benjamin, Benji boy, Henge Benj, Benj man, Ben. We got the sarcomas and the tumors out. One of them looked really sketchy on the rear butt, which is a real common spot for lumps, so they're sending that in. We should have word within a week whether it's cancerous. Worst case scenario, if it is, we go back in, we take some more just to be safe, and hopefully he should be good. So, not completely out of the woods yet. I don't like to light cigars or celebrate too early, but appreciations obviously are grateful. Ben's doing good right now, recovering from surgery. So thank you guys so much, man. Dude's my world. And between that going on, just the stresses of a week and, some of the other realities and reminders that I probably shouldn't have let get to me, made me really pretty embittered. And then you had, like, everybody and their moms, just like I said in the last podcast. I was getting a lot of love last week that I didn't deserve, thanks to, again, Luke Thomas's The World Co-Main Event podcast for Verbal Taps of the World. But, like, boy, people were just coming at me, man. So a lot of that's that natural, push-pull, feels teenage rebellion and all sorts of other emotions where, the fact that I started out rough and then came back winning is dramatic enough. We've all had those nights, right? As degenerates, as gamblers, for fun, for serious, for sharp, for whatever you want to consider yourself. We've been there, right? And it can be cathartic. It can be you can get a little bit of a cathartic response, fuck off, not tonight, baby. And it was extra so because of just fucking all the hate I was getting. It was ridiculous. It was just like, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and it can naturally, you can become a bit insufferable sometimes, at least I feel I have, And I apologize for that, sure. But am I that bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, I admit my biases than most. I admit my wrongs than most. I'm more objective and try to represent the other sides and underdogs and unrepresented than most. But yeah, man, a lot of haters are waiting in the wings for you to fuck up. So I guess I should just expect that every time I fuck up after doing this for so long and doing pretty darn good for the most part. It was a winning night. No, it wasn't a massive winning night. I think it was like up a couple $100 here, a few $100 there, maybe like not even barely like. But I don't play a lot like a lot of you. And B, a winning night is a winning night in this game, no matter the context, no matter where you're at emotionally, no matter where you're at bankroll wise, right? By the numbers, by the emotions, and everything in between. A winning night is a winning night, and you should be grateful for it in this game. You got out alive. And yeah, again, it felt extra winning so when the analysis was spot on, as it was for the top fights, at least the top fight. I don't know if anybody could really got the analysis for that top fight, though I do want to credit, and I hate being that guy who's like, oh, no one knows talking about it. And I try to speak in absolutes, but sometimes I get excited when I listen back and edit. There's so much shit that I say that is just like, why did I say that? Or I said it flat wrong, or I got the point across, but I was much more obtuse, much more dramatic, much more hyperbolic, whatever word you want to use, right? And then maybe I mischaracterize what is a good point, but I just get a little too into it, so apologies for that. I for what it's worth, it's okay if you're annoyed by me when I do that, because I annoy myself when I do that. I hope I didn't do that with like talking about the knockdown points, because I didn't hear anybody talk. But the truth was, I was trying to keep my filter clean, so of course I didn't hear much, because I didn't look at much. And sure enough, as I tend to do after I record this podcast, or even sometimes after the event, because I've just been so busy, I barely even get to my air quote dessert, which is the few MMA podcasts / even fewer of that subsection MMA analysis / breakdown podcasts I listen to. And I wanted to give Heavy Hands a shout, because Phil McKenzie, I don't even know if he picked Charles Oliveira. I think he actually might have picked Gaethje, but he was someone who I always respect highly. But he was someone who also mentioned the point as far as Gaethje, not sure if he'd be able to follow Oliveira to the ground there. And I didn't listen to this week's, as I will probably retrospectively again, like I tend to do, as I previously said. But as I was commenting, which we'll get to Michael Johnson, Connor Rebush, the other host of Heavy Hands there, made some kind of like autoerotic asphyxiation joke from Michael Johnson, and I haven't listened, but I'm guessing, I just commented with David Carradine, and of course, me, I always got to have a Wire reference there, so I had D'Angelo Barksdale with his murder, with the doorknob and the belt loop kind of a deal, choking himself. But I can guess where that joke came from, because me and my David Carradine jokes, and knowing Michael Johnson's history, which we'll get to. But amongst the comments in there, someone said something about them doing a Twilight Zone bit, and I feel like for the Rose and Esparza, and like I think the same day the podcast released, I tweeted out that like Twilight Zone little clip where it was like the alternate angle of Esparza Rose. Because I feel like everybody was saying the same thing, but nobody was picking up on the. Well, of course they're not, because it's an old like 70-year-old reference. But that Twilight Zone episode where the kid like wishes everybody in the cornfield, and it's just like, that was good that you did that. That's right, Johnny. That's great that you did that. And everybody's just overly kissing his ass. And like that's what I felt like watching that fight in the corners with Rose and Pat. And so just judging by the comment I saw, I'm guessing that again, great minds think alike, folks. So I wanted to tie that in and give them a shout. I also want to give, of course, again, Ben Cohn at Agent Ben 10 a shout, who did the actual UFC Vegas, or the UFC 274 recap with me. Again, check that out on the YouTube channel. Ben is the man with a Fight Site, and Fight Site, of course, puts out great analysis. If you like a recap for technical stuff, check out my man at Typewriting DA. Dan Albert put on an excellent recap of Oliveira Gaethje as well. Excuse me. Last thing I want to say before I get the shouts, and we'll knock this breakdown out, is I wrote missed thoughts, corrections. Speaking of that episode I did with Agent Ben 10, 4 withdrawals for Khabib, and then illegal weigh-ins. I forgot to mention the mention. What was it? I'll get the Instagram handle. because a lot of people weren't mentioning this either. With Ariel did a great job as far as like sticking up for Charles do Bronx Oliveira, how he makes a good case alone, just even within the weigh-in, citing, of course, the GSPs, the Daniel Cormiers, the Khabibs, all the greats that we all love. And I'm not making fun of you for loving them, because I love many of them too, of course, right? They're all great fighters, but we're very forgiving of them, and just again, people still, coming at Charles, who has a history of missing weight, like a history of missing weight over a half decade ago in a completely different division, yeah. But and for everybody saying, maybe come in later or at the, don't come in, or he was the only, people were like, he was the only one to miss weight. He wasn't the only one. Norman Dumont also missed weight, and people were like, well, 2 people miss weight. Only 2 people miss weight, and the rest of the people made weight. And I saw some people out there actually doing the math of averages for people actually taking the allowance that they're allowed in non-title fights. And that was above average, even though the weight misses were pretty much on average, right? I'd say 2 is the average, 1.5 even in this era, right? There's a lot of fight cancellations, withdrawals for maybe weight-related issues, but they don't make it to the scale. But as far as, like, weight misses, they make it to the scale, like, even in this day and age, probably 1.5 or 2, I'm guessing, an average per card. So it's hard to live or die by those numbers, but I saw many doing so. When again, the overall average, I saw someone actually run those numbers in a tweet. That was actually above. And then you had a bunch of people, I saw people saying, oh, it was just the people that miss weight. I'm like, well, there were people that didn't miss weight. Oh, that person was Brazilian. They were all Brazilians. I'm like, okay, we're going to play that stereotyping. There are fighters that weren't Brazilian. There are people that weren't Brazilian that weren't even fighting, that all cited discrepancies on the scale. So that all kind of corresponds to the overall average being over, and people, whether they made weight or not, complaining about the scales. I think, what was it, Anik and Florian podcast, someone else said something like Ferguson or someone else had like a extra tough weigh-in because they had to go and cut extra, because a lot of people were, were dealing with the same thing, and the people that were made aware, I think it was like 9:36, it was only like 30-something minutes beforehand. So if you weren't around for that announcement, and you already like made weight before, the night before, like Oliveira and many fighters do, so you can actually get your rest, because rest is probably more prioritized than having to wake up early, kill yourself, cut weight. Just cut the weight or get close, float the last pound the night of, maybe sweat, a half pound or something in the morning, but you're not having to do the whole damn weight cut. And we saw a bunch of people like, being late and all these things when they first started doing morning weight cuts, right? So we've seen more people move to the night of so they can get their sleep. If you want to give Oliveira crap for that, waiting till last minute, okay, fine. But again, that's a hell of a coincidence. And again, hell of a coincidence and a hell of a way to go just to blame the fighters. By the way, Eric McGracken, who did the law stuff for, again, if we want to be sticklers, stickler, you got to make weight. No, it doesn't matter if it's a scale, if, the multiple fighters, calibration issue, stickler commission member at the slide bar scale, even though he makes weights on the other scale, okay, you still want to pull the stickler card, letter of the law. Well, how about the letter of the law by the actual commission holding the fights and the weigh-ins? According to their letter of the law, it was an illegal weigh-in. It shouldn't have been happening even in that time window, for one. And if a fighter does miss weight like Oliveira did, they're supposed to get 2 hours, not just 1. So, I mean, it's just all those things, and just for people to still be blaming Oliveira, and then you got like, and I don't want to be the hater or anything like that and talk shit, but I just like saw an account, and I just almost wonder, like, it's one of those accounts where they mainly do YouTube stuff, and it's not the greatest analysis. It's pretty much like the sky is blue, and or whatever, but like this person was like, oh, if Oliveira beats Islam, then maybe he has a case to be greater than Khabib. And you guys already know where I went off on that, on all that legacy talk, man. I mean, if I have a Mount Rushmore, I mean, I'm having 4 and 5. I'm having at least 2 people battle for that last number 4 spot, and none of those 5 people in the picture are Khabib Nurmagomedov as far as legacies go. He's dominant. He's great, amazing fighter. But undefeated, dominant, but that's where the buck stops for me. You know, you look at who he beat, how he beat them. Like you know, Slim Charles fucking lapped his resume in a sense in a year, and you know, and you know, especially we're gonna do the weight thing when like we saw the scale thing that Ariel and many others reposted at this point. I write Khabib for withdrawals, by the way, because I think Oliveira has triple, almost quadrupled the sample size across two different divisions, right? So he should have more withdrawals. He should have more weight misses. And he does have more on paper weight misses, or at least as many, if you count the UFC 209 one. But those were at featherweight. He only has this air quotes one, which I don't think anyone's really counting. Whereas Khabib has, again, two, not even including not including all the times where he's had to take the extra hour, because Khabib actually was granted those extra hours. He was granted the slide bar kindness. He was granted these things, catch weights and whatnot, because again, not even all his run at 155. Like, I think Charles Oliveira already surpassed that, because when people were comparing Tony and Khabib, that was another thing. It's like, not only Tony beat these guys more impressively, fight more amount of impressive guys at more impressive times in their career, but he did it all at 155 because Tony never missed weight either. Whereas Khabib's, there was catch weights, there was weight misses, there was close weight misses, there was shoulda weight misses, and there was numerous fucking fight cancellations from 2015 era, 2014, multiple times with Cowboy Cerrone, who wasn't able to compete in front of a crowd. You know what I'm saying? And we're giving shit to guys like Oliveira. People, gave shit to Rose for UFC 223 with the bus thing, but what was the difference, folks? These people, they still showed up, and they still wanted their credit, right? Rose won at 223. Oliveira showed up and won. He gave the opportunity for Justin to still win. Whereas when Khabib fucks up, man, he was fucking shit up for everybody. And granted, he's been at the other end of it too, of course. He should be credited for, taking on all comers at UFC 223, of course. And if we want to talk, Charles Oliveira, again, should make weight, and you should leave a pound allowance. Okay. My guy Aaron Bronstetter was talking about Charles Oliveira has the weirdest weights fluctuations, right? And Aaron smartly and rightly noted, never missed at 155, but he's had these weird weigh-ins where he weighs in 152, 153, and it's constant. In fact, at least half of his weigh-ins in the UFC at 155 are under 154. And if we wanted to do, I guarantee, I haven't even done this math, but this is a gun to the head. Is Charles Oliveira the fighter who's fought most at 155 that has the most weigh-ins in the UFC at 155 under 154 for a 155 fight? Under 154 for a 155 fight. I guarantee you he's the most in the UFC. You got to go to some early era, and I don't know if any of those undersized guys who were fighting at 55 because there weren't lighter weight classes. I don't even know if those guys fought enough times as Charles Oliveira to even do that at a consistent basis. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, if we're gonna give a fighter crap for not coming in under enough 155, are we really gonna give it crap to the guy who's literally come the furthest under 155 the most times at the most percentages, more than anybody? Really? And it's okay, well, did he do it for his last three fights that were title fights, Dan? Well, no, he came in right at the dot on his last three fights. He didn't leave room for error in his last three fights. See, that's what we're talking about, Dan. He didn't leave room for error for his last three title fights. You know who else didn't leave room for error for their last three title fights and came in on the dot, arguably over once as far as Khabib did? But Khabib Nurmagomedov. I believe Justin Gaethje and or Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier for sure. Pretty positive. But it's all these guys that are right up there that we hold as legitimate, they all did the same thing. They all came right at the dot. If this is such a big deal and fighters and champions need to account for it, which I'm not disagreeing. If you can, why not? Why not do it under half a pound? But those of us who cut weight know how big that half a pound can be. So yeah, I don't know. These are all moot points to me. And the facts, when you actually break them down, are in guys like, Charles Oliveira's side. But these are the guys, that get their titles taken from them. Him and the Tony Fergusons of the world. Well, why do you think I love these guys so much? Because they step up, they fight, they put on these legendary win streaks, making the weight, get their titles taken away from them. So, anyway, shame on anybody still. And it's okay. Again, fucking Khabib's awesome. It's totally cool as your favorite fighter. And not shitting on that, folks. But just shame on anybody shitting on Charles Oliveira. That's what I'm saying. Shitting on the fighter who always gets stuck with the bill. So, anyways. Bellator 281 is going down. I broke down Storley versus Page. It's funny. Like, I didn't even realize, like, I'm just like, fuck, dude, another double event week. Like, Bellator, and he said, fucking shit. I think I read something or someone saying something like they're going to slow down. They got to cut their roster, or I don't know what it is, or something. I forget. But, like, they just been. There's so many damn shows. Like, I didn't even know. I was like, before I break it down, I'm like, I hit my boss. Is like, dude, you want Storley Page done before I start? Just want to make sure. He's like, yeah, it's a title fight. I'm like, oh yeah, oh fuck, it's a title fight. I'm like, oh yeah, it's right, Amosov with Ukraine. I'm like, okay, I get it. I gotta backtrack. It's just fucking Dunbar's number, man. I broke down their last fights. Didn't even remember it. Storley's way out of price range. Definitely think he's gonna win. Picked him to win by decision. Not sure if he gets the finish because. Michael Page, to his credit, London Shoot Fighters, to their credit, good submission grappling gym, and Page will stymie. It's boring. He'll do wrist control. He'll just spam stuff like that. He's got good leg dexterity, but I don't know, man. I think Storley can either get a late stoppage or a decision. I officially picked him by decision. He's a good parlay piece if you're listening to that before then, but I didn't parlay him. I didn't play him. Part of me wants to win back from that, from that Lima decision, but, that was just that's the crappy thing again, with these low output fights, as we saw with, Rosa Esparza, right? You look down at your phone once, you miss one thing, and the whole round is toast. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of all it takes. But yeah, I don't think Michael Page can be rewarded for his slot, both by judges and stylistically, as far as those literally running into the person knockdown bullshit. That's just more my pet peeve. Me, I like clean strikes and clean knockdowns being graded, not slop over clean strikes. But that's just me and how I perceive it, with of course damage to the pride. I'm saying it's not. I'm saying. Anyways, you can check out that in-depth breakdown. But really, really good interviews by Farah Hanoun, who's on site at Bellator London. Shout out my colleague there. And also shout out to Gorgeous George and Goes, did a really good interview with Logan Storley. Those guys always do killer interviews and are doing much more at MMA Junkie Radio, so go support them. They also do watch-alongs for the pay-per-views. I've had people ask me about that. It's part of the reason why I got my camera. You guys know it's something that I really want to do and set up. I'm not going to be there set up for a minute, but Gorgeous George and Goes have been doing it for I think half a decade at this point. I know it's half a decade because I know October of this year will make 5 years since I last did it with them. I've been asked by Mike Bond to do one of the shows because we're really trying to put a lot of work in it. So that's why I'm trying to plug it. So you guys go check it out. And hopefully I'll be joining it. I was asked once, but of course it was the one weekend where I actually see friends. It was that RDA Moicano, George Colby fight week. When the analysis dudes were in town. But I think they've used my breakdown videos for pre-shows. But of course I do the pre-show with Aaron Bronstetter. But hopefully maybe I'll jump on there. I'll get an invite. But if not, hey man, eventually that's why I'm just trying to build my own channel. So I'll do my own to get reps too, man. You can't wait on the world. You gotta get out there, man. But those guys do a great job, and I really wanted to give them and the team some shine, whether they're doing the interviews or they're doing the on-site work, like Farah Hanoun. Not much else to say about Bellator 281. I will shout podcasts that specialize in the European MMA scene. Speaking of Gorgeous George and Goes, they've been jumping on the Brit Pack, which is one of my favorite intros there for Simon Head. Great dude, Simon Head. And speaking of podcast intros, got to give love to the Severe MMA podcast with Shawnee Podgod, Sean Sheehan. A listener tagged me something about I guess I got a shout on that. I think I played their podcast in the background this week, and I didn't recall listening to anything, but I'm kind of half listening and half not most of the time. I don't know about you guys. I'm kind of a dude that has to have a movie or a podcast or something playing in the background while I do other things. So I might have missed it, but I definitely appreciate that, and wanted to give love to those podcasts, man. So shouts to Shawnee Pod, the Pod God, Sean Sheehan, who of course does the Lord's work as far as trying to remind people of the lovely scoring criteria that very few seem to read. Shouts to them. All right, that's it. Let's get over it. 25 minutes. UFC time. UFC Vegas 54. Headlined by Jan Blachowicz and Alexander Rakic. Jan Blachowicz plus 165 is your underdog. Rakic minus 190 is the favorite. So I didn't end up on this one too. I ended up picking Rakic by decision. This fight just feels weird, man. I feel like this should be dog or pass. This is a dog or pass, despite my pick. But I feel like this should be a fight where I still pick and play the dog. You know, I like Blachowicz. I like old dogs. But man, it's tough because I feel like, you know, he should be able to counter to the body and legs where Rakic can be hit. He's pretty good at defending his head, will roll under his crosses offensively, can play the counter game on the outside. You know, but his stuff's a little more preset, whereas, you know, Jan has a little more sharper fundamentals and can adjust on the fly a bit. You know, not that that's necessarily his game, but just more organic, a little more options, more feel for the battle, which comes with all that experience that Blachowicz has. The thing is, I don't know, I'm not a rumor guy, an injury guy, because all these fighters come in injured in all these circumstances, and then they end up still winning, right? So it's really, really dangerous to bet your bets, even your picks on it. Perhaps that's why I'm not betting, but perhaps it is playing into my pick, because then when I went back to watch the Glover Teixeira fight, you notice that he really just grimaced the can opener on his neck. He taps fast at the RNC. And I'm not taking away from Glover there, but it just did not look like Blachowicz. And he doesn't, you know, he denies an injury, gives credit to Blachowicz. Says he's healthy coming into this one, but that's kind of what all fighters say, especially when they're good sports and stuff. Like Blachowicz is, you know, he's a good sport. And that kind of worries me. Then you look at this fight was supposed to take place in February, and it was postponed, and they just ended up rebooking it because, you know, they're over the scramble game, and they're just trying to get everybody out the door in fights and, you know, the ultimate filler content here. And not too much, you know, I don't know how much building they've got in mind or how much care they can even, in their defense, they even can put in the matchmaking with this breakneck schedule, right? So they rebook it, but it's like, what was the injury, you know? Was it neck stuff? And I looked at Jan, and I tried to look too much into this either, you know, especially as getting older and whatnot. You know, you can't compare like Jan now from Jan earlier in his career. He does look more ripped, but he just seemed like, I got the same worry from Blagoy and some people that, you know, I respect were warning me out, trying to warn me off Blagoy last week, saying, you know, he's been injured. You know, saw this at the weigh and look this. And to their credit, you know, Blagoy never looks great, but he looks smaller, almost like shrunken. Like, what's going on there, you know? And I don't know, man. Just from what I'm seeing from the Instagram, Blachowicz doesn't seem like he's, I don't know, in his normal shape, normal cutness, normal muscular, normal ripness, normal whatever you want to call it. Again, it's hard to tell from pictures. Who knows? He's never like, again, especially this recent run. He's not the, you know, the most like, you know, veiny triumphant bastard, to quote a super bad. You know what I'm saying? He's not walking out like that, you know. Jesus, Dan. But you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And I look at it too. Rakic, he's really focusing a lot on his wrestling. He always has, but now he said, even this last year, he's at the age where you can make skill jumps. And he said he's mainly been working on wrestling and cardio and conditioning. And those are the main things you're going to need in a 5-round fight in a small cage against Jan Blachowicz. And Blachowicz, you know, I think he can defend and stymie a lot of the early shots, perhaps. His defensive wrestling has gotten better as well as his offensive wrestling, but I still feel like Blachowicz can tire doing that, you know? I feel like it was nip and tuck with his gas tank. Like, if he didn't get the takedowns at the right time, you know, he didn't have that strategized out kind of perfectly in a way by going for the takedowns late against Adesanya. And even though that wasn't the most torrid pace of the fight, like, Jan is going through his wins. You know what I'm saying? And he still won, and good on him. But, you know, part of me feels like Rakic can either run himself into a wall, like Dominic Reyes did, But also, part of me feels like he's much more willing to wrestle when he comes forward, and he's much more risk averse in general, whether he's fighting off the back foot or not. Rakic is than Reyes. That being said, he can still get countered really hard when he comes in, right? So I think those first 2 rounds, Blachowicz is going to be really live to knock him out, and perhaps even set a serious tone of the fight if he's able to hurt him and seriously scare him off. Then perhaps he's able to keep the temperature, within a cooking temperature where he can still win a decision and it doesn't get set to a broil. But if Rakic even if he's just cage pushing and it's ugly, he's not necessarily getting success taking him down early. Once he does, I think it's going to just be, I think he can wear him on Blachowicz. And in those positions, he's going to score too. He's not that busy with strikes in the clinch as you like. He definitely focused on grappling, defending, and or offense. Rakic is. But once he gets down, he's really active with scoring with strikes whilst not taking too much risk positionally. So he'll kill clock and score. And he's just really big, man. Like Blachowicz, he's powerful, of course, but he's not the biggest light heavyweight, He's not he doesn't cut a ton of weight. And he said this himself, too. And Rakic is just like, future's probably back up at heavyweight. I mean, this kid's giant. And I know I'm not usually the big size and youth and moment, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Rakic here by decision. But ain't no way in hell I'm picking or playing this. This is dog or pass all day. Don't blame you guys for going against me, playing the dog here. Not saying you should, because I just got a weird feeling about this fight. The overs and the unders even sketch me out, to be honest. Because even over 4.5 plus money, it's tempting, but it's like, dude, both these guys could knock each other out, and I guess I couldn't be too surprised. You know what I'm saying? Harder for Rakic to get the knockout, in my opinion, unless Jan is gas and is attritive. But Rakic by decision. Co-main event, Iwan Cutelaba, minus 235. Ryan, Superman Span, plus 190. Going with Cutelaba here. I like that Devin Clark better than many of us give credit for. And Devin Clark showed some real heart in that fight where he got his teeth knocked out by Cutelaba. But I'm glad he showed heart because it allowed Cutelaba to kind of show demonstration pace, showed you could listen to the corner. When Eric Nixick gave out directions, he's still been training at Extreme Couture, which I like, of course. Ryan Spann trains with the general, Coach Saif Saud, who I really like and respect. But Spann, man, he really could fall apart. I think I picked and played Smith against him last time, but it was one of those ones where I called it. Even though I called third round, I didn't expect Smith to get it in the first round. It was one of those ones where it felt like such an obvious pick, and the line was so soft in hindsight that I felt like we all should have really backed up the Brinks truck on Anthony Smith in that spot. Because Ryan Spann, the truth of the matter is he gets sketchy when it goes past the first round, and that is not the kind of guy who's going to challenge Cutelaba, who you have to survive the storms against. And that was old Cutelaba you had to survive the storms against. This newer version is much more efficient. Even his shape, I know he's always been in good shape, but he even looks a little more cut up. Like, again, doing more, maybe again, that speaks to more of the cardio and efficient output we're seeing from him than just the muscly slugging, I'm going to Hulk everybody, like how he initially came in. We're actually seeing technique and process, along with that raw, explosive aggression. He's finally using his wrestling smartly, not just randomly or not at all, right? He's using it to score and can score on good wrestlers who can scramble and not like tire himself out and kill himself where he's falling over, going ass over tea kettle, trying to hold him down, and then now he's on bottom, which probably would have, been more his MO before. And outside of, Misha Serkinov, who I believe is like a judo and jiu-jitsu black belt, highly accomplished grappler, and that was like over half a decade ago before Serkinov fell apart and had his confidence beat out of him. Aside from that, the only other person to submit him is the champ, baby, Glover Teixeira. One of my favorite fights on his way up to the title. So, not exactly the easiest to submit or stop Cutelaba. And the only person that has stopped him is, again, those two. And one of them was, was that playing possum one, which is hilarious. of they're both Magomed Dagestani Stipe, southpaw, which Spann is not. Spann's got a good left hook, and could maybe catch Cutelaba there, but Cutelaba is hard to get out of there. And as we've seen, like a lot of the time, Spann's been knocked out or stopped. Like he's hurting the guy just before he hurts them. And again, it's just like I don't know what's really there for a chin gas tank. Not good to not have in this finishers division. So Cutelaba was one of my more confident plays of the card. I was gonna play him inside the distance, but that's juiced up to all high hell minus 165. Get plus money if you think he can win a decision. I think he can win a decision. I just don't know if Spann can last for a decision. Otherwise, I might sprinkle there to bolster the parlay leg. That's right. He is one of a 2-leg parlay. Next fight, Davy Grant there. Hello there. Come on, Bobby. Davy Grant's going to get in there and swing some bones there. Luis Smolka plus 240. Yeah, this one fucking got jacked up too. Grant by KO was like right at plus 100. Because that's how I see him winning this fight, which sucks because you know me. I got love for Smolka. Hawaii, baby. But again, I'm just because someone's Hawaiian or from the Extreme Couture, not that either of these guys are from the Extreme Couture part, but I'm just saying, the things you would stereotype me for being biased toward doesn't necessarily mean so, and whether I am so or against so, I always state my biases. No real biases to state, just saying that I like Smolka, right? A little bit of Hawaiian homerism, but man, does he start slow and looks like that knockout that he suffered from Vince Morales kind of was going to come for a minute, Even that beginning of the Quinones fight doesn't look that great. And Davy Grant, he attacks the legs, he attacks the body, and those left hooks up high, man. I think he's going to left hook knock out Luis Smolka, to be honest. It's going to suck. Part of me was thinking about betting it, but again, Davy Grant could get a submission too because Smolka's been subbed by guillotines and triangles, and that is the majority of Davy Grant's submissions, minus some rear naked chokes here or there. But he's got like 3 or 4 guillotines and some triangles sprinkled in early in his career with them long legs there. Davy Grant there. Make him sound creepy, Dan. Sorry. Pick his Davy Grant by second round knockout. Possibly actually end of the first round. End of the first round. Smolka's a slow starter. Amanda Hebash plus 155. Caitlin Chookagian minus 180. Going with the Chook train. Chook. By decision. The knockout could be a cheeky angle because Hebash has shown to be chinny, but counting on Chookagian to finish a fight, and I want to give Hebash maybe she's a little more durable going up in weight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually going to say decision here. I saw it at plus 110 in the other house, then it's minus 110 in another. Maybe if it goes plus 10 on both, I'll sprinkle because like I'm looking bare on this card for bets, which is probably a good thing, but we'll see. It's still gonna need a decent combination of my things to hit instead of just half or a portion, which I never like, but that's kind of just what we're playing with. Next fight, Manuel Torres minus 125, Frank Camacho plus 105. Yeah, man, this one, out of principle, taking Camacho plus 105, plus 106 I got him for, laid 1 unit on him. Went back to read Manuel Torres, and again, dude, 2 of the most like unkind Contender Series grades I've given are fighting on this card. And one of them was Manuel Torres, and he looked more measured than the very, very little bit of his past fights where he was just a wild man, kind of, spamming a lot of hard strikes, power strikes, and then would, end up getting RNCs in the chaos kind of a deal. He looked more measured, flicking out a jab and some front kicks, but we really don't get to see much. And then he does that, like, eye poke, like, rake, and even if he didn't poke him, it's such a blatant and ugly fucking rake. It's like, what were you doing? You were just trying to fuck with your opponent's eyes at that point. Like, that's not a technical move. It wasn't even a clean shove. Even if you want to do a cheeky palm strike and shove him away, I'm cool with that. That's actually fucking clever and impactful. Like, this wasn't impactful. It was fucking cheap and rakey, impactful in a fouling way. Cross somebody's fucking eyes, of course, because, that ain't fucking precious. So yeah, and then, he only gets the shot because, and maybe he would have been in there anyways. He's not super young, he, is, I guess decent experience in the Mexican scene, but really, I don't know, does he? Because it's like, the dudes he's knocked out were like 0-1. Like, they just showed up to get knocked out and have nothing on their record. And it's like 5 years ago or some shit. I forget. I'll pull it up now. But they're not even like, they're not even like impressive like knockouts. Because I know Frank Camacho can get caught early. And it's weird. It's like Frank Camacho was like only a plus 155 dog to Beneil 2 fights ago. But, him getting stopped by Justin James, who, everybody hates on, I believe, a little more unfairly. Justin James way more experience than any of the dudes Manuel Torres has fought. Now, Justin James, again, I know homer there, but deceptive amount of experience on paper. Really does. And, again, had moments in the fights that he was losing. Dangerous guy, but maybe you can say, oh well, he's one of these fighters here in the COVID era. Like, dude, that's half the roster now, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's half the UFC roster. So, I'm not saying you can't criticize. I'm just saying, I'm not sure if it's the most fairest thing. But yeah, we got Manuel Torres here, and it's just like, okay, well, when was his last knockouts? It's weird. He only loses by fucking what do you call rear naked chokes or heel hooks or leg attacks, I should say. Sorry, I was looking at his last TKO win is like half a decade ago or some shit. Andreas Baca, 2016. Yeah, that guy was 3-1. Jesus Tejeda 0-1. That's the guy he knocks out next. And some of these are like retirements too. They're not even like submission to punches kind of shit. Like, I mean, it is like over half a decade ago on the regional scene. The rest of his wins are against people with actual fighting records for what that's worth, and he submitted those guys. But Camacho, I believe, is a judo or jiu-jitsu black belt. And yeah, like guys like Beneil Dariush are submitting him, granted. And, you look at the shot from Justin James, too. It was the perfect shot. It was the perfect hooking off what he thought was a jab. Like, those will fuck you up really bad. He had a sketch weight cut before that fight, was scheduled to face someone else with a last-minute change-up the week of. And this guy has not had great luck during fight weeks between car accidents and other the like Camacho. And even then, it was like a standing stoppage, you know what I'm saying? He didn't complain about it. I didn't complain about it. I was happy. I picked my guy, Justin James, of course. But, again, like, I mean, maybe this guy's got that power. Camacho maybe he dips into a head kick. But even though he didn't really get to show those improvements in that fight, his fights, 2 fights prior, he changed his camp to Team Oyama. And just see a much better, Frank Camacho there with Nick Hein. He even arguably won the Drew Dober fight, although he didn't make the Oyama change then. But you see a much more composed Frank working the body, hitting inside ankle counters, like really sharp shit, kicking the body, kicking the legs. Like, that's gonna be good, man. As long as he can survive that first round, he probably even get good takedowns too. I mean, look at the outside trips and stuff he was doing against when he faced a striker. Who's really dangerous in the first round. When he faced one of those, we actually saw that fight play out. What happens? And again, that was Drew Dober. He went for a lot of takedowns, did well on the strikes too. Arguably won that fight, right? Close fight, but arguably won that fight. Even Drew Dober kind of felt like he won that fight because Drew Dober is just such a sweetheart and good sport, and was just giving, like, through his own words, giving that to Camacho, giving credit. Like, I didn't even know if I really won that fight, to be honest. And that's his own words. It's not me trying to paint a case for you guys. Again, I don't give a shit. You put your money wherever you want. Disagree with me if you want. I don't care. I'm just telling you where my line of thinking is. And again, here's why we'll probably lose this bet, though, is because the world is unfair, and we see this all the time with this shit, piss poor matchmaking, where these veterans, or people that are, veterans and or just more deserving of the win, all the check marks of stuff that matters, stuff that doesn't, granted, right? Being a good person doesn't matter if you're going to win a fight or not. But we see this stuff, and then, not that Manuel Torres is a bad person, but again, getting in there, getting a spot, probably because, let's be honest, he's Brandon Moreno's in the UFC and getting that rub, and then gets a fucking cheap ass, gets a cheap ass win, and then gets a contract off of it, which was like bullshit. Like, that's like, if that would have been graded as a foul and then it goes to no contest, that would have been like the perfect 10-10 round because it barely got going. But not a 10-10 for Dana. It's a win in the books, and then it's a contract for Dana. And yeah, but that would be like so perfect for just especially with my history of betting against these Contender Series fucks, man. Pushing out the people who have had to pave the way and take the hard road and all that shit. And just, here comes a Contender Series kid just going to do his wild shit and get a quick win. Because when Frank Camacho does lose, it is mainly in the first round, whereas, this kid, it seems like first rounder bust. First rounder bust fighter, doesn't have the experience, didn't pay his dues, probably doesn't deserve to be here, definitely doesn't deserve to win, which means he probably will win. But you know me, I can't help it. You're gonna give me a fucking plus money price on a guy as well-rounded experience like Camacho, against a first-rounder bust Contender Series fighter in his debut. I know it wasn't good for Camacho last time in that small cage, but I'm going with Frank the Tank. He looks like he really did a lifestyle change since that accident. Really started doing strength and conditioning and running for the first time because he's like afraid of saunas and running. So it's like no wonder why he always missed weight. The dude was against running and against saunas. Like, and he's an island dude. Us thick boys, man. Like, holy shit. And now he's actually like running, doing strength and conditioning for the first time. Again, this is going to be now his third camp with Team Oyama. The last ones was pandemic. Didn't get to show it with a car accident. All these, so we really still haven't got to see it. And the one like full glimpse, he looked really good in. Great. You have to go back to Nick Hine to find to really find that. I don't think it's listed as a thing, but I don't think that was the original matchup with Camacho and Beneil. I want to say either. And then look at Beneil since, obviously. So it's like, I mean, how much do you really want to knock him for that one too, right? But yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Camacho, 1 unit at plus 106 there. Let's go, baby. Speaking of Contender Series, Jake Hadley minus 220, Alan Nascimento plus 180. Nascimento also fought the Contender Series and lost, but it was a split that he arguably could have won against, it was one of the best Contender Series fights against a dude who's done actually really well and has got some promise in the future in Raulian Paiva. Of course, he also lost a split, which I actually thought he won on rewatch, folks. I might have said that before, too, which is why, even though I picked Tajir Ulanbekov against Tim Elliott, I did caution not to stir up any old wounds, but, that was part of it, because Nascimento is super active, super experienced, Muay Thai black belt. I always thought he's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, because that's like his specialty, and he comes from that camp. But no, he just comes from a really good camp, although he is a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu, so no shade there. I don't know what Hadley's rank, if any, but he's super well-trained, grappling. It's definitely his thing. Can be flexible from bottom with go-go platas and shit. Really good with taking the back. Obviously, that's his thing. Can wrestle, can get up well, can scramble well. Wanted to pick against this guy, but I was looking at it like Nascimento doesn't do a lot of switch-up liver kicks or left hooks to the body, which you're going to have to do against Hadley, because he's a southpaw, but he does this like wing block thing, and he almost where he wing blocks and then almost holds up a guard, almost looks like Tom Breeze and company, which makes sense because I think he just trained with some other people in Birmingham, like Fabian Edwards, Leon Edwards, a bunch of those camps. A lot of people that are bigger than him. I don't see many notables around his size. Nascimento, big for the weight class as well, so that'll be really interesting, especially if Hadley wants to go grapple with him. But he does that wing block thing, like I said, and opens his body on the liver side. It's just no one ever hits him there for whatever reason, and hopefully Nascimento does, but I didn't see a lot of, again, switch kicks from orthodox or left hooks in his repertoire to the body, which would be nice considering especially that, Brazilian Muay Thai style that, you could stereotype that he's accoladed in and comes from. Shootbox Diego Lima. I think 2 of those fighters on this card, but yeah, if you bet Nascimento, maybe you take the flyer on Nascimento by sub. Round 1 is like plus 900, but maybe just Nascimento by sub in general. Maybe he if he does win, he can break the trend. Plus 525 ain't a bad shot. But it's dog or pass in my opinion. The pick is going to be Hadley by decision. Hadley checks kicks really well, and he just there are problems, but I think he can, score enough to get to his spots and convince the judges in what'll be another close, maybe even split decision like fight. Probably dog or pass here, to be honest. Picking Hadley by decision, but don't blame anybody taking shot on Nascimento money line sprinkle, or a sprinkle even on Nascimento sub plus 525. I'm not telling you to. I'm just saying I don't blame you. Definitely a fight where a lot of the things I want to bet are against my picks, and maybe that's what's keeping me away in some cases. Though some cases I might want to sprinkle. That would be one of them, honestly, because I did write it down here. Andrea Lee minus 115. Viviane Araujo minus 105. Lee opened up the favorite line, tighten up. I get it. Araujo, she's definitely tempting. I've taken her in these matchups before, but I don't know if I would take her here because Lee surprised me. She looked better last time. I thought she was going to look like trash, but then again, I know Calvillo's kind of going through her own thing, so that makes it weird. I'm going to pick Lee by decision here to gut it out because Araujo gas is too hard for me to confidently pick her. And even though, sorry, my dog Brownie, she's just flopping around and being a mess. Even though Lee looks tired, and that could be bad body language that they interpret as she's tired or hurt to the judges. Again, she's going to be in there with someone who's got worse body language than her past the 7-minute mark. So maybe Araujo flips it. Who knows? Again, it's not a fight I want to have my money on either way. I'll pick Lee by decision. Next fight, boy, you would think I would have my money on this one. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe it's just PTSD from betting Michael Johnson too much. Minus 150, Alan Patrick plus 130. I just think Patrick's overrated. His style has never been great, especially in this era now where they're actually, focusing on damage as they should be. I feel like that makes Patrick obsolete, but Michael Johnson you can never underestimate how hard this guy can the bed, shit the bed, right? The guy's like, him and Marcos Rogério de Lima, are in a contest with maybe some other people. If y'all can shout me with some, but as far as like, except with Johnson, it's like I don't even know, like, it doesn't even seem like it's a panic thing with him. It's just like it feels like it's just like he's like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is happening. But then you look at Patrick, he hasn't really subbed anybody. Like, he never subbed anybody in the UFC. He's like some short notice replacement dude who never want to fight in the UFC or want to fight since in his first UFC fight, like, back in 2014 or some shit. But, like, submission-wise, you got to go all the way back to some guy named Augusto Caesar in 2008. Was his last submission win? Jesus Christ, man. This guy hasn't submitted anybody in over a decade. He's 38, but, Johnson's going on 36. You go look at his training, and Johnson's just doing the same thing with Henry Hoof, the same mitts. I don't see any wrestling. I don't see any jiu-jitsu. I don't see any cage work. I don't see any wall work. It's just mitts and striking and sparring every time. And, I don't know if things change. Hopefully he matured, but I know Michael Johnson, he's like that fighter lifestyle as well. And then Nugent on the other end, Alan Patrick, he's over at Shootbox Diego Lima, so maybe that's enough to scare me off here. I'm still picking Michael Johnson by decision because both these guys don't get as many finishes as you would think, even when they have their win conditions. And it's going to be a really ugly fight. So even if Johnson hurts him, it's the small cage and it's Patrick. So between Patrick doing his wild stuff to it's the small cage, he's going to make it messy and tangled. And even though he won't get the sub probably, and he probably won't even get any dominant positions, he will be able to make it sticky enough to survive, make it ugly, maybe even make you sweat enough if you do bet Johnson, which should be the bet here. It's not a dog or pass even with it, Michael Johnson. I'm too scared to bet Johnson. I feel like even at -1, he opened even tighter. I don't blame anybody taking that, but even at -150, you can still justify laying the price on MJ. I'm not. I'm scared off here, so I just stayed away, and I picked him. How much is it by him by decision? Maybe I'll sprinkle that. I think it's like plus 200-ish. Johnson wins by decision plus 175. What did it open at? Plus 180. Okay. Maybe plus 175. Who knows? Sprinkle something small. like, you know, 0.37 unit or something. We'll see, or something like that. Who knows? What is it? Michael Johnson, my main man. Michael Jackson, my main man. Three Kings, baby. 1999. What is 30? What is it? 37 in a row? 64. Meh. I don't know. We'll see. I'll post it if I do. Next fight up. Yeah, here we go. Virna Jandiroba, or as my guy Brashek says, Virna Jandiroba, minus 170. Angela Angie Overkill Hill, plus 150. So it's Angie versus Angie. Angie versus Angie, baby. Believe it or not, this is where, I have to remind the masses that I love Angela Hill. I really do. But again, I pick things as an unbiased analyst, and I judge action for the action that actually happens. And for that reason, it seems like I'm an Angela Hill hater. She's always unfortunately for her, coming up short on split decisions. And a lot of them, I'm not sure she has much of an argument for some of them, but she's got she's a media darling. She's awesome. She's got a lot of fans, as she should. She's got a fun style, which should give her even more fans. She deserves all these things, folks. I'm not being a hater, but when people are just turning the steering wheel so hard one way into their biases or their darlings or their fan favorite, I'm sorry. I call it the contrarian in me, or maybe just, wanting to remind people that the sky is in fact blue. It's not just whatever color we want to paint it on the day of. I don't know. Buzz Killington, I know, but it just, I don't know. But I think this is a bad matchup for her. I think the small octagon is just bad for her. Because it's going to encourage grappling. Virna Jandiroba has, I think, good enough wrestling and good enough to get after it, to get Hill down. Hill is better her in the clinch, but with the grappling threat there, how much does that advantage does she really have? Virna Jandiroba can be hit clean and just smile and keep coming. So I don't know if Hill can really stop her. Her striking's gotten better. Jandiroba's, she's got decently heavy hands for her division. Like, she's able to at least get respect off the girls she fights when she hits them. She was training with Melissa Gatto for this fight, so a very tall, aggressive, a very impactful striker, who also has good jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I think Virna Jandiroba here gets Hill. I bait her the second leg of my parlay because I'm not sure if she's going to get she either gets a decision, she either submits her or wins the decision. So what I did was I parlayed her with Cute Laba, minus 190 Virna, Cute Laba minus 225 for plus 120 at 1 unit. And then I also sprinkled 0.37 units, 37 in a row. It's funny, they both props were different, but ended up at the same number. I got Virna sub at one house and plus 275. And the other house that doesn't offer sub props, that groups it all together, thankfully their inside the distance prop was the same price for 275. So I just put 37 units on there, 37 Dualis to win a unit, just over a unit if she subs her, on top of the potential plus 120 that could cash. If Cute Laba also wins. So that's what I played there. And again, I'm going to be bad guy number one for picking against Angie Hill. It's a fucking blasphemous. I know. I'm sorry, folks. Tatsuro Taira minus 240. Carlos Candelaria plus 195. Again, the same analysis the first time. This is just a wait and see fight. One of the many questionable, but they're just signing everybody this season of Contender Series. And then Taira's from Japan, which I'm excited for, but of course we know that stereotype of the Asian fighters not traditionally doing well for whatever reason. So we'll see. I think Taira can get to his win conditions of grappling, back takes, so on and so forth. In the small cage, which favors the grappler, and Candelario is pretty aggressive, so I could see him giving something. We'll see. Pick is Taira, but I stayed away. Lastly but not leastly, Nick Maximoff, minus 380. What the fuck? Plus 290, Andrei Petrovsky. This line is stupid, man. This makes me want to pick against Maximoff. Fuck, this is so tough for me. I was like going back and forth in this fight. I originally was just going to just pick Maximoff and move on, like the rest of the world, apparently. But I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, he's just not a very damaging fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Petrovsky gasses, but I feel like he's learning how to deal with that because now he's gotten 2 third-round finishes in a row or something, right? You know, you look at, yeah, he lost round 2 against, Brian Battle. Brian Battle's a pace fighter, and that's in the Tough House, I don't know what to really say for the Tough House. I don't like to count those fights too much because it's like Dr. Jekyll in there. They're away from their camps. They're away from their cutting weight multiple times. There's just so much intangibles. You really can't weigh those. And you go, okay, Aaron Jeffrey. You look bad against Kyle Bohio, but look at Kyle Bohio, right, since then. And Aaron Jeffrey, since Kyle Bohio, dude's only, got a couple spots there in his record. And in that fight, I believe Jeffrey had a few more fights than Petrovsky. Was a bit more experienced against better competition coming into that fight. And if you look at it, Petrovsky was only fighting for I think 5 days shy of 2 years as a pro. And that was his first fight in the pandemic. 2 judges give him the first round, and then he really gets, and then you hear Aaron Jeffrey's corner really smart, doing that pace fighting stuff going, when he looks for a rest, stay on him, that pick up and put down the pack that I talk about. And his corner knew exactly what to look for, and Aaron Jeffries was the perfect fighter to execute that. Didn't let him breathe, and did his busy work in the clinch, and just, finished him with legit strikes. Was he tiring? Of course. Did tiring lead to the strikes? Yeah, but I mean, it was legit. Some legit strikes against the fence there. Petrovsky grapples as well. They're both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belts under a Gracie system. You got Daniel Gracie over Renzo Gracie Philly. And then, of course, you got Nick Maximoff training Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu with Nate Diaz and company over there, right? They both wrestled, I believe. Petrovsky was a national qualifier. And a Division I national qualifier, whereas Maximoff, he says he's All-American, but just says he's All-American. It doesn't say anything else. And when I actually went to look at his school that he wrestled at, all that came up was a community college. And correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't think you get D1 from those schools or those programs. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I'm wondering if you're able to still achieve All-American honors with a certain amount of wins from, I don't know what division level of school, because you could be Division II All-American, right? So maybe it was he was still able to qualify for enough wins, but as a guy who went to community college, I'm not shitting on community colleges or anything. I'm just saying that I haven't really heard much of this place, so I don't know. I think Petrovsky's the more explosive wrestler, probably the better wrestler, but again, that gas tank's going to make all the difference for MMA grappling. Maximoff's, he's much more positionally sound, offensively and defensively. So I think that's going to win the day here. He keeps a tight guard, and he actually does have some decent strikes, even though I still am adamant that Puna Soriano beat him 2-1, and he had a blown out knee for that second round and still beat his ass. And even in the third round, landed the hardest strikes of the third round, getting up off his feet to finish the round, finishing the round on his feet, landing the hardest strikes of the round, despite, Puna not having the greatest gas tank either, and having one leg at that point of the fight, for half the fight. So believe me, this feels like Petrovsky should upset, and you should just take him out of principle, dog or pass. It is dog or pass, but, man, I feel like Maximoff's going to keep a tight guard, land enough shots. Petrovsky looks like he can still be hurt too, so who knows. Maximoff, to his credit, he looks like he'd be durable, and Petrovsky's in some, he throws with a lot of power, and he looks impressive, but he's not, stunning guys regularly. He's not getting standing knockouts or anything. And Maximoff, to his credit, took a lot of heavy shots from Puna and wore them well, even in the blood. Enough to, bullshit the judges into giving him a win. Fucking 30-27 Maximoff, really? But yeah, and it sucks because he's going to do himself an injustice, and I was hoping he gets a bigger step up, but they're giving him a nice little ride, but he's going to hit the level. It may even be here, who knows? Because the kid was just being rushed. I mean, you don't go out and do like 8 grappling tournament fights or whatever between getting signed off Contender Series in your first fight, unless you're really trying to make up for some fucking lost time because you're being rushed. You know what I'm saying? Just like that clip where like Nate was like, that TMZ one was like, yeah, fucking calm down. Fucking, I'll fight you. I didn't have to fight you. Nick will fight you right here, motherfucker. And Maximoff looks at him like, why? Like, what? I'm going to fight Kamzat? And then, he's just, doing the whole Nick Diaz Army thing. He's like, yeah, I'm going to talk like Nick and, like, I'm just like, from Chico to 209, right? Yeah, tell him, Nick Maximoff. It's like, fuck, it's like, Nate, what? Nate's all like, yeah, that's right, it's knocked in. Like, Nate, that's what's up. Like, Nate, I don't know if that's what's up. I feel like when guys did that to you, that was not what's up. No, dude, Maximoff represented. He's represented. That's why if you go to his Instagram, you're going to see Nick Maximoff represent clothing. Like, I get it, but, like, you guys have a pretty consistent image. Like, what I don't... This guy, like, he looks like I mean... The style and what's wrong with his style, dog? Look, you telling me that a steroided up Ryan Gosling from Place Beyond the Pines who likes to hump his opponents against the fence ain't 209? That's pretty fucking 209 if you ask me, dog. Alright, I appreciate the fuck out of that Place Beyond the Pines reference, Nate, but, say what you will, cutesy tattoos or not, this kid just doesn't smack of I mean, I know he sound like you. He got the impression, but like, I mean, doesn't that piss you off, Nate? I mean, the guy's like clearly he's copying your voice. He pissed me off, dog. The only thing I'm pissed about is that like I didn't have that Nick instead in school because I could have just like been like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I could have gone and smoked weed at the park and ride bikes with my brother Nick. And then if my parents came home, they're like, hey, Nate, you stay home sick? What are you feeling? And then Maximoff's bitch ass could have been like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just fucking Ryan Gosling, All right, Nate. All right. Well, on that note, I wish your guy luck, I guess. I guess I'll pick him by a boring ass decision just to keep this stupid gimmick going. I could see him maybe getting back control, Petrovsky getting some positions and sucking it away or something and whatnot. But I'll pick him. But you know what? What I did write down is I wrote Petrovsky inside the distance plus 900. That just seems like a stupid number. Part of me wants to just like throw like $20 on that, just for the shit of it. Or even Petrovsky by decision. He's never wanted decisions. That would be even a hell of a thing. You are getting like plus 500 for it for what it's worth, as you should. But, like, he's the more damaging guy, and maybe, like, the judges might actually get it right and not reward cage pushing. Like, so long as, like, Petrovsky doesn't take any huge shots and doesn't get his back taken. The problem is, I think he gets his back taken, and Petrovsky seems to be a bleeder, too. Like, even, like, the Philly guys, like Paul Felder, like, commentating his grappling stuff, was, like, joking on, like, how he just bleeds all the time. So yeah, I'm... again, it's just like these fucking contenders. I'm picking these Contender Series fucks, like Hadley, though I don't want to, or Maximoff. But like, you should be looking up, like if you're looking for a play, it's like Nascimento sub plus 525 or Petrovsky inside the distance sprinkles at plus 900. Like, it's hard to find numbers that big to even take flyers on. So part of me kind of wants to, but I'm picking the opposite way. I know that's very bitch-like, but it's probably what's going to happen, I guess. But I'm rooting against it. I hope I'm wrong. All right. How do we do on time? Hour and 10. Still made this long, Dan. Good job, you fucking idiot. All right, I am taking Rakic over Blachowicz, taking Cutelaba over Span, taking Davy Grant over Smoka, taking Chukagian over Hibash, taking Camacho over Torres, taking Hadley over Nascimento, taking Lee Donnie over Araujo, taking Johnson over Patrick, taking Hanji Joba over Hill, taking Tyra over Candelario, taking Maximo over Petrosky. Cute Laba and Hanji Joba parlayed plus 120 for a unit. Camacho plus 106 for a unit. Verna sub / inside the distance at plus 125.37 units, and that's it. Thanks for listening, folks. Good luck this weekend. If you want to support the podcast, mixedmartialanalyst.com supports this here free show. You can find click-throughs, Amazon, and some other shitty companies, as well as secure PayPal links through my link tree as well, at Dan Tom MMA, and on Twitter, at the PYM Podcast, on all social platforms if you want to like and share, subscribe. I won't pollute your feed. It really, really does help. Thank you guys for sharing, supporting, spreading the word any way you can. It really means a lot. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.